Banana, 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 banana. Okay, so I'm like 2 minutes early. Hope that nobody minds. So what's going on, everybody? Figured better late than never to do a Dawn of X review. There's 5 freaking books, but there's only 3 who are one. Technically 5, because I have 5. Yes, I actually bought 5 of these freaking things, and I'll just find like different heads to use. I actually have one extra one I could use, so we'll see what's up with that. But I figured, you know what? I kind of enjoy opening up things when I'm talking to you guys because it's like something else to do, and I've got way too much energy. So I figure, what's up? So yeah, what's up? Let's talk about some X-Men up in here. Close that up. X-Men, X-Men. Let's see. What's the first? Let's see. Okay, so we got Hellions issue number 1. This is gonna be really hard because I don't have the physical copies. Um, let's see. So Hellions issue number 1, Wolverine issue number 2, uh, X-Men and Fantastic Four issue number 3, X-Men issue number 9, and Giant Size X-Men Nightcrawler issue number 1. Yeah, this is going to be a whole lot of fun. Okay, so let's do Hellions issue number 1 first. I knew I was going to like this just because in the very beginning it gives that quote from Nightcrawler. Yes, Nightcrawler is actually kind of sort of whatever. Anyway, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So this quote, as it were, is it is folly to create an Eden, it is folly to create an Eden if one has no use for snakes. I love that. I love that. So here's these things, these people. Now, somebody give me a heads up. Does it actually say any place? I don't remember it saying any place on here what these guys are. The Hellfire cult. Like, what is so special about these guys? Because they're I think they're brand new. If I'm remembering correctly, there's somebody brand new, but some of them actually have what looks like tattoos of Apocalypse on the back of their heads, which is interesting. Is this like some kind of a setup? Now I know that the Hellfire Club doesn't have anything to do with the actual Hellfire well, the Hellfire Club per se. They're the Hellfire Gang. They don't have anything to do with the Hellfire Club or the current Hellfire um, trading company. So they're a completely different entity. But yeah, so basically there's like, I don't know, you'd figure there's going to be a form of X-Force here, but it's not. Siren is here. Wolverine, Rockslide, Landslide, I forget what his name is. Anyway, something to that effect. Nightcrawler and Havoc are there, and one of them shows up. One of these bad guys shows up with a bazooka, freaking AT4 it looks like, and he just blasts at Nightcrawler and Havoc. Havoc is very, I don't know. He's rough. More likely a rich bigot to help dumber poor bigots celebrate the anniversary of the mutant massacre with another one. It's a funny thing. Like, this whole thing is based on, this is the anniversary of the mutant massacre. Wicked, wicked. Freaking Nightcrawler goes and says it's dangerous to assume that they're all out to get us, Havoc. Havoc is wild in this. He's just like, first off, I hear a jet outside. Not too many jets flying around anymore, so it's kind of weird to hear a jet outside. Anyway, says, are you teaching me? Did I stumble into one of your Bible studies? Like, am I in seminary right now? And then all of a sudden there's an explosion and Havoc just completely loses it. It seems like he thinks that Kurt is dead, whatever it is. He's just really pissed off and he goes crazy. They show his face. Now, half of his mask, the right side of his mask, is burnt off, and you see the left side is whatever. Y'all remember that, like, that little flashback? That's what this one single panel looks like, and his voice is like, y'all remember when he was in the Axis, and for a long time afterwards, until towards the end of the X-Men Blue series, Havoc was actually evil. He got converted. You know what I'm saying? and he was a genuine bad guy. He was a frightening freaking bad guy. Anyway, um, this kind of reminds me because also half his face was burnt off. Now he's, I guess, been killed and brought back. He's been rezzed, so therefore his face is perfectly fine here. But still, there's that little bit of imagery there to give you that sense of and plus the way that the shaking is on this thing. It's freaky the way that the shaking is on his voice, and he's like kind of wicked. So he's going evil on this one. He jumps forward. He's got his freaking plasma power, and he's just grabs the guy's side of the guy's face on either side and just starts burning with the plasma. Dude, let me tell you something. I've never experienced a plasma burn because probably wouldn't survive it. But we're talking about hot, like sun hot. You know what I'm saying? One of the states that, one of the unexpected states of matter besides the three standard states of matter, plasma, dude. He just like, this is a burn that is never going to heal. And these guys don't res. So little wicked here. Wolverine actually has to stop him, smash them. Hey, boom. And they make a big deal of this later. It's like, dude, you can't kill. And he's like, Wolverine had to actually stop him. This guy gets pulled off, and everybody's just like, wow, this is really bad. Everybody's freaked out. Nightcrawler, of course, is going to be sad. Wolverine's like, dude, you need to chill. Siren's like, I could smell the flesh. And then that's when suddenly Havoc realizes, I did something bad, didn't I? I did something really bad. Yeah, you kind of did. So the X-Men in this book are going to, for the most part, are going to be the new Hellions, new group formed: Havoc, Orphan Maker, Nanny, Wild Child, Empath, Scalp Hunter, Mr. Sinister, and Psylocke. Hey, don't forget you can check out my Nanny and Orphan Maker 10 things about, or explained in a minute, on Comic Book University if you want to know more about them. In the meantime, the people who are responsible for this story are Zeb Wells. He's the writer. Stefan Segovia on art. David Curiel on the colors. VC's Corey Petit on letters. Tom Mueller on the design. Segovia and Rain Barreto doing the cover art. And a couple of variant covers on here. And Nick Russell does the production. Now, no head of X on here, which is odd. Is that a misprint, a typo? Is that something? Or because I've heard rumors, and they're only rumors, but I've heard rumors that Jonathan Hickman doesn't want to be quite so committed to the stories right now, so he's not necessarily doing head of X for everything. Okay, interesting. This issue is called "Let Them Be Snakes." Good name. So they're having a quiet council meeting. Let me see what's going on in the chat right now. Somebody freaking out and all this crazy stuff and blah 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 blah. No, nobody's freaking out. Okay, cool. Wow, Dragon's going crazy. Listen, be careful, man. There's some fans who might boot you out of the page. So check this out. The quiet council is sitting there chilling out, and they're talking with each other and whatnot. And what's going on here? Oh, for crying out loud, why can't I remember his name right now? With the big freaking stupid things on his, I feel really upset right now. One of the freaking acolytes, one of the potential horsemen. Okay, I'm actually really mad right now because I can't remember this guy's name. Sorry, I shouldn't even bother looking at the chat because that all of a sudden freaking throws me off course. Anyway, Sinister's sitting next to him. He's like, "Are your epaulets getting bigger?" I didn't know what the word epaulette means. I had to actually look that up. They're apparently any kind of shoulder ornamentation. So this guy, Sinister's looking at him and he's trying to be like, hey, let's get, cool. Let's do this. And all of a sudden he's like, he shows that he's a little bit crazy in this. And he starts pointing out to, God, I know this freaking guy's name. And he's like, are your epaulets getting bigger? I'll have you know. Nobody's shoulder ornamentations are bigger than Mr. Sinister's. I will be very upset. Exodus, thank you, everybody. Yeah, he's like, I will not be outdone. And he just points out, and it's like, dude, like, are you crazy? Mystique is there. This is the first time we've seen Mystique, by the way. If we're going in chronological order. First time we've seen Mystique since she's shown that she's going to betray the X-Men. So, okay, interesting. But also, without Jonathan Heckman actually being the head of X on here, I wonder if that even means anything, you know? So, boom. Emma Frost is getting pissed off. She's like, can we get back to the point, please? And that's when all of a sudden all these guys show up that are about to be, I don't know, potentially judged to be thrown into the pit of, we don't remember you anymore. They start going into, hey, here's Empath hanging out, and he's with all the other original Hellions, and Empath is causing a fight. Empath is very interesting here. They actually go into the white page with him, the Empath problem. Basically, they're looking at Empath very similar to the way that they would look at what's his name, the Purple Man. So you think about the Purple Man, especially in his, like, where they kind of humanized him just a little tiny bit. They were talking about, hey, look, in the Jessica Jones season 1, there's that one episode I talked about it where he was kind of a good guy for a little bit. They showed a little bit of empathy on his part. He's like, listen, this is not my fault that I'm like this, okay? I say something and people do it. It's not my fault. It's what I got used to. Well, they decided to take that to a very similar, they don't up it or anything like that. They just take it to another, the same level here. And they point out, hey, look, this guy, he's never had to really worry about peer pressure or anything else. Although he has the ability to control other people's empathy, nobody else, or he himself doesn't have any empathy. He doesn't need to, because whatever he does to somebody, nobody's actually angry. And this is a part of society. This is a part of who we actually are. It's a part of how we raise our kids, how we're expected to all raise our kids. There are certain expectations in society. It's one of the reasons why, for the longest time, and still in many regards, the idea of men don't cry, saying boys don't cry, but girls, oh, let it out, this sort of thing, because it's what's expected in society. Although I'm not a perfectly huge fan of it, I am still quite cognizant of the idea that if my son is caught crying in public, saying there's going to be a little bit of an ostracization sort of detail. And I'm not particularly fond of it, but I am cognizant of it. I am aware of it. So I let him know. I let both of my kids, but especially my 6-year-old, I'm like, hey, listen, don't ever let anybody see you cry. You can come home, you can cry with me, whatever, but don't let other people see you cry. When he's older, we'll talk about that. But for now, because seeing a man cry, seeing a boy cry, it's like, oh, what is going on here? Saying, what are you, some kind of a sissy? Because that's unfortunately just simply the way that things work. And therefore, we have to be cognizant of our society and what is expected of us. There's a whole bunch of us who like to say things like, oh, I don't care what other people think of me. And to a greater degree, I agree. But that's not the way that any of us actually work unless you are a sociopath. Because that means that and I know that comic skaters throw that term around all the time. They don't actually know what it means. A sociopath is someone who does not actually recognize any kind of general ostracization, doesn't recognize those looks. The looks of disdain or the looks of you did something wrong, disapproval, they don't click inside of these people's heads. And unfortunately, 10% of human population is considered, is considered sociopathic. Go figure, most of those people are very, very wealthy. I wonder why. These are, and literally, studies have been done. You can actually see them in Psychology Today from like a year ago, less than a year ago. They've shown that these people, it's fairly easy for these people to get rich because they have no problem stepping on the necks of every single person they come across. Every single person they see them as a target, as a victim, some way to get money off of these people. And especially if you're born with money, oh, it's so much easier to just exploit everyone around you. That is essentially what empath is. And I figure, like, if I had a chance to write a character like this, that would undeniably be the way that I would write this character. I would make it so that he eventually got himself super rich. Why? Because it doesn't bother him to screw people over, But anyway, yeah, he basically always gets what he wants because that's just who he freaking is. So how, in some ways, how can you blame this guy? So one of the best lines that I've seen in these Dawn of X comics, and I've seen a lot of them, but this is one of those Mount Rushmore type comments that you make. They said about him, this is not a case where the mutant was, turned bad in some way. No, mutation caused him to go bad. And that mutation happened fairly early in his life. Usually it's around adolescence. For him, it was much earlier. So he always had the sense of, no matter what I do to people, nobody gets upset at me. So I can literally do whatever I want and nobody will be angry at me. Okay. Very, very freaky, especially since he actually controls other people's emotions, yet he doesn't notice when it's him doing it, as opposed to people just recognizing what he's doing. If somebody says, "Hey, I don't like that you did that." No, you're okay with it, aren't you? Oh yeah, I'm totally okay with it. Wow, freaky stuff. So in here we've got Orphan Maker. Again, if you guys aren't familiar with Orphan Maker, by all means, please feel free to check out the 10 things about Nanny and Orphan Maker. He is a ridiculously tough character. Forget about it. Like, none of these X-Men individually are taking Orphan Maker down. You got to be Omega level to stand a chance against Orphan Maker, because this dude is straight up. Mm, mm. And yeah, the Nanny is the only person who can actually control him. Apparently, Nanny is a mutant. There was always the question whether she was mutant or not, and they're showing now that she is, in fact, actually mutant, since she's on here on this team, because otherwise she wouldn't be allowed. So it was interesting. They had Peter here, Orphan Maker, but we didn't have Nanny at first. I'm like, dude, wait, what's going on? Are they actually saying that she's not? So, okay. For me, that was a fairly decent deal. We get to see, what is it? Wild Child here. I thought this was very interesting also, because somebody mentioned, how come Dakin's not on the team? I do, like I said, I do look at all the comments, and you're not wrong. How come Dakin isn't on the team? I guess they're going to show him being a little bit smarter than this, able to actually feel empathy at this point. I'm not sure. Maybe they just didn't want two people with claws on the team. But Scalp Hunter, this guy is one of the wickedest ones. A bunch of the Morlocks find him, and this was wicked. Hey, John Greycrow, his name is. Hey, John, you know what day it is? It's like the day I clean my guns, just like every day. It's like, no, it's the anniversary of the Mutant Massacre. We didn't forget. He's like, romantic. Anyway, they attack him. They're like, hey, any of us who fall will be able to come back. They're going to resurrect us again. But Scalp Hunter doesn't explain. He doesn't make excuses. That's simply not what he is. He's not the guy who's going to make all these constant, explanations or talk too much. It's like, whatever. You want to judge me? You feel free to judge me. I honestly just don't even care. He'd probably be okay down in that pit. You know what I'm saying? But like, whatever. At least I could be alone and people won't freaking bother me. So when they're sitting there, yelling at him, blaming him, dude, you just killed all these guys without any reason for killing them. In fact, they're Morlocks. So it's like, what, were you hunting them down? Sure. I was hunting them down. Now, can we blame the Morlocks? No. Can we blame John Greycrow in this particular case? No. I mean, let's be realistic. This is, mind you, we're talking about how the X-Men actually are. We're talking a whole lot about the way that yeah, of course, they're all clones at this point. In fact, Sinister has recloned, Derek. Sinister has recloned his Marauders many times, long before there was ever this Krakoa idea, the nation of Krakoa. So anyway, oh crap. Oh, okay. So here, I want you to seriously think about this, because I like to look at, multiple different aspects of my comic books. One of them is looking at the social level of these guys. When you look at these guys by class, all right, by economic class, you have got they're going to go and they're going to try and later on in the book you're going to see that they're going after the where was it, in Nebraska, the Essex House. All right, I don't remember if they said in Nebraska or not, but that's where the Essex House originally was, so I imagine it's still going to be there. But the Essex house is full with some other marauders. The other marauders are in there, the ones that didn't want to come to the island. Scalp Hunter did. The other ones didn't want to come to the island. Well, besides Sabretooth, but look what happened to him. Anyway, so he decides, we got to go and we're going to take out these other marauders. The trick is they're ready right now to punish Scalp Hunter. But Scalp Hunter was only following orders. He's had himself a fairly rough life. Hopefully they get a lot more into his background and whatnot, but he's dealt with a lot of crap in his life. And the person who told him, hired him, enticed him to go out and kill all these Morlocks, Mr. Sinister, is sitting on the council right now. So for the Mutant Massacre, since he has the ability to provide clones and he's got some kind of a greater purpose for the mutants as a whole, the Krakoans, he gets to turn around and say, "Hey, man, I get to be on the Shadow Council. I get to be one of the 12. But one of the guys who I told to go and kill all the Morlocks, you actually get to be punished." How ridiculous is this? And this is not just Sinister, it's the other 11 of the 12 and Cyclops. The only person Cyclops actually objected to being punished was Havoc. Everybody's looking out for themselves. And the closest that you could say that's a little bit more empathetic would be Cyclops, because he's looking out for at least his family. This whole society is about as toxic gets. The people who have at least some skill and some, extra powers, the people who have get rewarded. The people who have not, they get punished. When you look at the leaders of the mutants throughout history, the history of the comics since the 60s, Professor X, Magneto, Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister, right? Mystique, been a leader of, mutant, what are they called? The Freedom Force, saying all these different leaders that are on this team right now, this Shadow Council. Think about this. These are the same leaders who have been in charge in some capacity or another throughout the course of X-Men's history. And they're still here. They're trying to find another way. Hey, how come mutants always lose? Maybe it's because you've got the same leaders the entire time. Now, I'm not saying give the reins of leadership to Wolverine. Hells no, I'm not doing that. Wolverine has proven he is not a leader. But I'm saying, maybe consider trying some other people. Maybe try Danny Moonstar. See what maybe she could do. Maybe not go with Magic, because I wouldn't think that's a smart idea, but consider, maybe not Kid Cable, but when adult Cable comes back, maybe consider talking to Cable. Talk to some of the other people, see if we can get new leadership in. Because when you've got the same leaders and you keep on having the same failures, you kind of got to wonder. But hey, people fail upwards. I see Cannonball for leadership, 100%. Sunspot for leadership, oh God, shoot me now. But yes, why not? Truth Slayer? No, I'm the Truth Sayer. It's comment from Dune. And you'll understand why I get that a little bit later when we get to the Nightcrawler book. So anyway, all these guys, they're constantly being punished like this. Alex is not actually on, Scott is not actually on the Shadow Council, so he's pissed when he finds out, how come nobody told me that my brother's being put in the circle of judgment and whatnot? It's like, this is the business of the council. Look how elitist it gets. Look how elitist it gets. Cyclops, the captain of the captains. Oh, they're all equal unless the captain of the captains is on the field. Then all the captains defer to Cyclops. You know what I'm saying? This is literally the highest rank and station you could get without being either on the Shadow Council, one of the 12, or without being Moira McTaggart, who's leading everything from the shadows. God, this is a filthy society that they have made. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole thing is set up just to collapse in a horrible way. I don't think humans are going to have anything to do with the collapse of this mutant society. It's going to be the mutants. Look how toxic this is. Jean Grey, even. Just everybody. Hey, well, at least she's having a conversation with him, but Storm right away. Don't you question my leadership. Whoa there, Lady Thunder. Why don't we just calm down a little bit, all right? Let's not get all pretentious with the whole. Then again, she's a mutant who calls herself a goddess. She's about as pretentious gets. You know what I'm saying? Um, what do you call it? Everybody here is just, we are the elite. How dare you question us? So these guys just go crazy, getting pissed off and whatnot. Freaking Magneto, international terrorist, you know what I'm saying? Apocalypse, he's named that way for a reason. Mr. Sinister, named that way for a reason. And these guys are all on the Shadow Council and they're fine. But Havoc, he singed a couple of humans and some of them lost limbs. It's terrible. And we judge people by the laws now, except in Sabretooth's claw. In Sabretooth's case, we judge him, what he's done before with the laws that we're just now making. Well, then how come all these other people on the council aren't judged also? Look at Wildchild. How many people has Wildchild killed in his lifetime? Could they possibly culminate to 1/10, 1/5, 1% of the number of deaths and torture done by Mr. Sinister? Like, come on, man. Come on now. These guys are just like, this is the most hypocritical thing possible. A chamber, a council full of murderers up in here judging people. You know what I'm saying? Because they hurt some people. Wow. So, and again, I noticed that Callisto was there and she wasn't wearing her white knight robes, her ornament. So I imagine this is out of continuity and this happened like before issue number whatever of Marauders, where I guess that's issue 7, I think, whatever, where she became the white knight. So, or maybe she just took off her ceremonial robes in order to do this, so it's not in some official capacity. I don't know. Since we're apparently not doing continuity anymore, nobody cares. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm about to get to X-Men Fantastic Four, and Kitty Pryde is still alive and kicking and doing well. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, in the Wolverine book, you see, no, she's perfectly dead. In fact, here's her, the ghost of Davy Jones grabbing her, grabbing Bishop and trying to kill him anyway. So all of this, they decide they're going to bring Quanon in on this, which I am digging on this. I love the idea they're pulling Psylocke in on this, and we're going to have ourselves a solid conversation right now. Anyway, these guys all get together and they decide we're going to go and we're going to clear out the what do you call it? The home for foundlings, Essex State Home for Foundlings, which again I believe is in Nebraska. So we see all this magic and people being jacked up, and the other Marauders are here. I think this is Harpoon, who actually has the Neo from the Matrix thing going on with his face. I see Arclight. I'm pretty sure that I'm looking at not Baron Zemo, Baron Strucker on here, which is unbelievably wicked. But Vertigo, Prism, seeing all these guys. And who else is here? Madeline Pryor, the freaking Goblin Queen. Oh, hells to the yes. First off, she's about as hot gets. And yeah, that's pretty wicked. I'm just saying. This is pretty wicked, man. So I'm really looking forward to that. You know who didn't show up in the X-Men books this week? Right here. All right. So yeah, we've got all the 3 of the 5 heads. So I guess this is Phoebe, Sophie, and Esme. No, that wouldn't be Esme. Mindy. So Phoebe, Sophie, and Mindy up in here. So boom, I can just switch them out. I've got one other head that I can switch out, and then another head, and I've got, like I said, I got 5 of these, and yeah, it's pretty cool. These things just wrap around, they can come off, but just showing her psychic prowess and whatnot. You can see the eyes, all of them, they're whited out and whatnot, and they all come with a Cerebro, therefore a portable Cerebro. I'm gonna use one of these because I got 5 of these now. I'm gonna use one of these. I'm gonna blanket out there, and I'm going to make it like the Professor X, current portable Cerebro and whatnot, because heck yeah. So I love these. I absolutely love these. These should go on. They don't go on very well. Doesn't look good on her because her freaking hair is too big. But anyway, yeah, so I've got these, and yeah, I'm super happy now. So, like I said, I just felt like opening one of these guys in front of y'all. So, what do we got here? Let's see. You think Goblin Prince is going to make a return? That would be pretty wicked if she did potentially unlock Havoc and have the Goblin Prince show back up. That would be, I wouldn't complain about that. Oh, I'm sorry, Vermeer 616. Yeah, I've got 5 of them. They were really hard to get up in Canada, but I was persistent. Okay, so let's move on to Wolverine issue number 2, Your Own Worst Enemy. We've got Benjamin Percy as the writer, Adam Kubert on art, Frank Martin doing the color art. The letters are done by VC's Corey Petit, Tom Mueller doing the design, cover artist, Adam Kubert and Frank Martin. Whole bunch of variant covers on here. Production, Nick Russell. Hey, the head of Vex is Jonathan Hickman. He's back. And this issue's Your Own Worst Enemy. Excuse me, Your Own Worst Enemy. I don't really feel like burping in the thing. Hope you don't mind. So anyway, yeah, this image of basically I talked about this in my individual review. This dream sequence is drawn to perfection because none of the panels all make sense with each other. At the same time, they don't seem to line up in time with each other. So they kind of make it so you have to read it 2 or 3 times. I legitimately read the panels 3 times just trying to understand exactly what was happening here. And that's perfect because it's supposed to be a dream sequence. You could tell by the borders that I could recognize immediately. So I had no problem with reading this over and over again in order to understand what exactly was happening. So this out of whack dream sequence, which, dreams always make sense when you're asleep. After you wake up a couple seconds later, it's like that. You try to write it down. It's like that made absolutely no sense. What the hell is wrong with my brain? You know what I'm saying? So I loved the way this art sequence was done. Anyway, basically, the Marauder ship is like 2 miles off course or whatever where it's supposed to go, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they start throwing some of their product overseas, overboard. And like, what's going on? The pale lady was apparently there. Bishop shows up. He's like, "What's going on here? This isn't cool." He's like, "What are you guys doing?" He pulls out the gun, and then all of a sudden he gets like thrown overboard. It's like, "Oh crap!" And then Kitty Pryde's zombie body just grabs him and pulls him under, and it's like, what the frick is going on? It's so deliciously, awesomely freaking crazy. I love it. So scrolling down instead of flipping through pages, God, this is killing me. We go into the scene where Wolverine thinks that he's killing a bunch of his enemies, but then he realizes, nope, that's not the case. And once again, he's apparently put his claws through Jean Grey. How many times is Wolverine going to put his claws through Jean Grey? One of the best scenes that I wish they would have done a little bit more, but whatever, is, after Wolverine wakes up and he's with Healer and he's having these nightmares, still has blood on his hands, and he sees Bishop right there, and it's like, holy crap, what the frick is going on here? He sees, what's his name, Cyclops, and Cyclops doesn't have any words for him. He's like, dude, about Jeannie, oh my God, I am so sorry. And Cyclops is just like, I'm just walking away. I'm walking away because I don't feel like shooting you again. Saying, wow. So, so now we're going to go on to Jeff Bannister. I love this character of Jeff Bannister. Unfortunately, he seems to be killed in this one. I don't think that's really going to be the case. They really put way too much energy into the creation of this character. If Percy actually does decide to kill this character, that will be wacky as all hell. But basically Bannister and Wolverine, Bannister's hanging out with his daughter who is sick, and there's a waiting list for people in America at the very least to get their hands on these drugs that the Krakoans are sending in. It doesn't help that a bunch of the shipments are being hung up and stolen and whatnot. It doesn't help that all sorts of crazy things are happening. The Hellfire trading company is purposely making it inefficient the way that they're delivering product to people, just so that it's like, build up that demand. We've got the supply, but we've got to withhold some of the supply to build up the demand. That's economics 101. That is not an exaggerate. A lot of people lie when they say that. I'm being serious. That's economics 101, supply and demand. Anyway, what do you call it? So he gets a call from one of his partners, and she's like, "Hey, listen, this guy and this guy are dead. These two people are dead. They were on the case and whatnot." Bannister immediately realizes somebody's onto us. Somebody's on the inside. They knew that we were watching, and this whole look away and live another day thing is wicked. So this pale lady is causing these people to kill themselves in very torturous, demented ways, like burning this, taking like a hot iron to their face and letting the iron burn while they're conscious, feeling that pain, but they can't do anything about it. So the daughter seems a little bit bothered, or more than a little bit bothered. It's like it's a mutant's fault that we're not getting this stuff. Everybody just wants to blame the mutants, right? Hey, they're the bad guys according to too many humans. Bannister himself doesn't really like the mutants either. And any little thing that shows up, it's like, hey, you're really starting to piss me off right now. How come you're not delivering these drugs like you promised you were going to deliver? It is what it is. So he goes out and he decides he's got to work with Wolverine. He doesn't want to, but Wolverine's on this case. He's on the case. Hey, let's work on this together and let's try and figure out what exactly is going on. So, and he's dead serious about this. He's like, listen, delete any footage that you have or anything like that to, his other people. I don't need any more of us being killed. All right. I don't need any more of you guys being killed. So he and Wolverine are going to go out and they're going to handle business. The way that he's talking to Wolverine while he's talking about my lawn and all this stuff, it's kind of perfect because there's that whole Turismo where he's just Clint Eastwood's like, get off my lawn, like it's an amazing saying that you always expect to hear from boomers, right? So he goes and he points this stuff out. He's like, on my lawn and blah blah blah, and Wolverine's just like, oh, that's really cool, and he just throws a bottle, an empty bottle on the lawn. He's like, are you serious? Did you really just, after I just told you how much I love my lawn, are you serious? So but at the same time, he's also talking about, I don't like you mutants too much. Saying I really just don't like you guys, whatever. What is this? So you see this scar in my face. When I was younger, got caught in the crossfire, some mutant showdown, collateral damage in one of your endless effing game, wars and whatnot. So and it's all the mutants' damn fault. So yeah, Wolverine's gonna throw something on your lawn. Really screw. After they just had a beer together, it reminds me just a little tiny bit of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He'd be like, throw me some beers, and he's got the beers. You're gonna pop them open, hand one over to the other guy, pops his open. He's like, you ready? Toasts them. They go to take a swig. And it kicks the guy in the nuts and then gives him a stone cold stunner and just boom, boom, boom. Throw me some more. Saying like that's almost what I'm seeing here. Just a little bit. I just don't see any stunners. Anyway, so they got psychic dampeners on. They're taking all these precautions to try and make sure that nobody knows that they're there. The trick is the enemy's already on board the ship. I guess that the girl, his Bannister's assistant, is a part of this somehow. It's like, hey, I need you to look at something. He's like, what, on the radar? No, I just need you in here so Wolverine can stab you in the back. And Wolverine has been possessed, apparently by the pale lady. So that is just fussed. That is nothing but fussed. So dude looks dead, and Wolverine is in charge of the ship right now, and the pale lady is in charge of him. Well, that's a little crazy, I would say. Let's see what else is. Yeah, the pale girl is kind of another purple man, but she's got something else going on too, which is interesting. The lawn metaphor. I hear the Kubert's got a lot of flack for not being enough like their venerable father. It's true, but who cares? Honestly, like who cares? Who cares what people say? You're not the same as your dad was. Yeah, nobody is. Nobody is. Okay, so let's move on to X-Men issue number 9. This was mostly just action-packed. This issue is called The King Egg. Jonathan Hickman is the writer of this issue. Lanil Francis Yu on art. Color art by Sonny Rowe. VC's Clayton Cowles doing the design, or the letters, and Tom Mueller doing the design. Yu and Rowe doing the cover art. Production is by Nick Russell. Okay, so basically, like I said, this is just pure action. It's the Brood are attacking, and Scott and his team of Vulcan and Havoc. Havoc is on here. What the frig, man? What the? I'm surprised the costumes are even the same. Brew is on here with the king egg. Jean Grey is in the back, and they're trying to escape. They're trying to get to where they're going. They got whales behind them with Brood on them, and oh man, there's only two behind me, but there's like a dozen in front of me. Looks like more than a dozen, 2 dozen in front of me, and they've all got Brood just crawling out, and they're trying to get to the space station where this new accuser is at. This is a totally cool accuser. I don't want him dead, but he does have a little run-in, a little disagreement with Gladiator. I'm saying once that Mohawk gets pissed, you're going down, brah. So he doesn't stand a chance. But it was still enjoyable to watch. And even though he got punched into space, I'm kind of hoping that we see him again at some point or another. All right, because that freaking hammer, the universal weapon, that should keep him alive. As long as he didn't die from the punch, that should keep him alive. So there's that. Anyway, and he does also have his armor on, so hopefully he'll be okay. Honestly, I really do hope to see more different kinds of accusers because Ronan can't be the only one. So I'm loving when all of a sudden, you remember the deal made in the previous issue with Sunspot and this accuser. It's like, hey, so have you made any progress in getting my king egg? So Sunspot's like, okay, so you're gonna be mad. Maybe not as mad as your captives there, but mad nonetheless. Anyway, here it goes. I totally forgot about the egg thing. Completely slipped my mind. What happened? Sam and I started watching the Shi'ar version of Jeopardy, and got to tell you, we didn't know any of the answers. It was really frustrating. Corsair, what do you call it? Vulcan and Havoc and Cyclops' dad, DaCosta, when I get my hands on you. And Roberto's like, relax, I'm joking. I made some calls, good news, found your egg thing. It's actually heading in your direction. The problem is, so are a bunch of Brood. And it's like, wait, what? Actually, it's not even just the idea that more Brood are coming also. It's the idea that Gladiator is right there also, the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, or at least a good chunk of them, because, hey, what are you doing in Shi'ar space? Kree. The trick is here, Corsair. I love the idea that Roberto decided to mess with this guy. And he really deserves a whole lot more messing because at the end of the day, he came through for this dude. What did Corsair and the other Starjammers do to him and his crew? They left the New Mutants behind. Kids, mind you. Most of these guys are just kids. He left them behind. Corsair is a pirate, and there is no honor amongst thieves. Like, Corsair should have just been left to rot. Anyway, all of this is just mostly it's just a bunch of, crazy action and whatnot, some starship piloting and things like that. Whatever, it is what it is. We do get an interesting history of the Brood in the form of how the Kree first discovered these guys. I do have a thing, 10 things about the Brood explained in a minute. Whatever, just look up Brood explained in a minute, Comic Book University. You'll find it. It's a short little video. Audio is not as great as I wanted it to be. Sorry about that, but it is what it is. Anyway, I've got closed captions on there. Perfect, in case you can't understand what I'm saying. But anyway, that's the deal that right there with the Brood. So, it turns out that when all the craziness happened, everybody's about to die. Suddenly, the Brood stop. Why? Because Brew decided to eat the egg. Oh, I'm sorry. It is really tasty. So now he is the king of the Brood, apparently. Apparently. He is now the king of the Brood. Oh, that is crazy. That is freaking crazy. Extinction level beings all obeying Brew? Yo. Suddenly Brew goes from like, oh, he's cute, he's really smart and all that, and he's empathetic and he's cute, but what are you gonna do with Brew? And I remember saying, I wish that they would do more with Brew. Well, thank you for answering my call and being so prompt with it. So let's look at some of these comments here. But now Sunspot and Cannonball are awesome. Possible, doubt it. I do feel Excalibur will lead up to the events of X-Men 2. The Apocalypse is trying to bring other part of Araco and succeeds, obviously. I like Bogdanovich's Wolverine. Yes, we will see more of that in issue number 4 and 5. But this issue and next issue of Wolverine are done by, I know his name. Crap, I know his freaking name. Freaking amazing artist in and of himself. His name is Adam Kubert. There we go. So, excuse me. Yeah, there's that. Kids, New Mutants are mostly in their late 20s, early 30s. Hey, man, you must be pretty young to be saying something like that because when you're 44 years old, people in their 20s are kids. I hear you, but no, a lot of these guys are kids. Plus, no, you got to think about some of those mutants that were on there. Some of them were younger. You know what I'm saying? Either way, though, they were young. Starjammer's book, nah, not really interested in seeing a Starjammer's book. Like we've got the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know what I'm saying? And I personally enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy better. Because yeah, like they have a little bit more fun, and they do actually have intent of helping people. And I can only read with so much of pirates running around just doing bad things all over the place. I'll watch Black Sails. You know what I'm saying? Starjammers are fun, but in their own books, they had that one 4-issue limited series, which I just really didn't like that much. But it is what it is. If you're younger than me, then you're a kid. Wow. Well, technically, you're like 6 months younger than me, Silver Surfer, so you're a kid. Ah! I'm joking. Is Hellions just Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad? They probably will be at this point. They weren't originally. Hellions have been around for a while, and they're mostly Emma Frost's answer to Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, you know? But yeah, is what it is. They've been around for a while. Okay, now let's do Fantastic Four plus X-Men, or X-Men plus Fantastic Four, issue number 3 of 4. Chip Zdarsky is the writer. Terry Dodson on pencils, Rachel Dodson and Ransom Getty on inks, Laura Martin with Andrew Crossley and Peter Pantazzi on colors, letters VC's Joe Caramagna. The Dodsons, Terry and Rachel, both are on the cover. Variant cover by a bunch of other people, 3 different people. Carlos Lowen Productions, and let's move on from there. This was, as should be expected, a pretty freaking wicked book, although not quite as much happens. This is mostly a fight. So when I say not much happens, I'm usually talking about the story. What do you call it? Wolverine threatening to kill somebody, you know, Mr. Fantastic in this particular case, and he ain't killing nobody. It's like our kids are about to be orphans. That's what Wolverine goes and says. And no, they're not. Let's be realistic. You ain't gonna kill nobody. So the Fantastic Four, who, mind you, this is important to really think about and understand. The Fantastic Four were not supposed to be on Krakoa. They called them up and said, "Hey," actually, I think Scott actually made the call to them, to the Fantastic Four, did that courtesy, said, "Listen, we don't have your kids. I just want you to understand that, okay?" They never made it through the gate. They decided to take, this thing and whatnot. What do you call it? The ship never showed up. We're going to go and investigate. Maybe we can coordinate an investigation with you, whatever. But we don't, your kids aren't on the island. In fact, only one of them is actually welcome. So we would call you and tell you to come and get the other one, the non-mutant one. Just saying. And they weren't having it. They weren't hearing it at all. So listed fine print on the cover. Cool. The group through Carnage. Corey's leaving. See you later, Corey. When Corey says he's leaving, he's usually effing gone. So he didn't hear that. Anyway, still, later, Corey, if you come back later. So these cats, man, forget about it. Fantastic Four decide we're going to invade Krakoa anyway. We saw that in the previous issue. So now they're trying to escape really quick. Who knows where they're going? They don't know where they're going. Nobody knows where they're going. They're just, because they don't know where their kids are. Maybe they're going to try and go to the last known coordinates. They don't know, though, where they're going. What they do know is they got to get away from the freaking X-Men. Now, Scott gets on the ship and he puts on this big thing with the X cross. It's like, that's not a Cerebro. That's something to focus his optic blast outside of the ship, which is awesome. Unfortunately, we don't see where it comes from. It just kind of goes poo from off panel and hits the ship. Cool. I like the idea that Scott's accuracy is better than what's his name? Ben Grimm's piloting skills. That's not to disrespect Ben Grimm's piloting skills. I mean, you think about how long they've been flying that cat and mouse chase game, but the idea that Scott only fired once, because that's important. Because if he would have fired, all of a sudden you know that Human Torch is going to turn around and be like, pew pew pew, and start throwing fireballs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be on. If we're going on, it's going to be on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, let's try and keep it diplomatic. And it's like, when we shoot, you only get one shot, so you better make sure it counts. That's why I like Cyclops. We need you up here, bud. And he's like, I'm on my way. So uh, they wind up landing on this island. Like, what the frick is going on? Also, they decide to show the island. Okay, here's the deal. They show a map of the general area. That map sucks. That map sucks. So I'm going to once again pull out my freaking map that I keep behind me for when I'm teaching English. See if you guys can see that. Okay, so here we are. I'm not looking at the stupid thing. I'm just remembering in general because I know what my freaking maps look like. So anyway, Krakoa is like over here, just south of where the Federated States of Micronesia are. Micronesia is a very interesting country. They're basically America. They use the U.S. dollar for their trading, and they use Fahrenheit and miles. You know what I'm saying? Nobody else does that except Americans. It's the weirdest freaking thing. So anyway, they're here, and Krakoa is here, and Doom Island is like over here. So you'd figure it's one of the Federated States of Micronesia. Now, again, it's really horrible map. They actually show all of this area up here, which is just ridiculous because they show it in a spot that big. But anyway, so it's showing that Krakoa is here and Doom Island is right over here. Latveria, Doom Island, whatever they're going to call it, is right over here. Latveria proper is actually in some place over here in Eastern Europe. But yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's that. So I just looked at the map. I was like, that is horribly drawn. So that's cool. They actually show where all that stuff is. What they do is they have oh, that's just freaking weird. Anyway, is that off? Yeah, that's off camera. Okay, so Doom shows up and he's like, "Hey, what's up? Listen, you guys can stay on my island. I got your kids here. Look, here's the X-Men now. You can say hi to them and whatnot. What's up? You can say hi to everybody." And like, listen, Uncle Doom is going to help us out. I don't think he's going to screw us over. He would never do that to us. So yeah. And here's the thing. There are two important moments in here where Doom points out how much he dislikes Wolverine of everybody. He points out, hey, listen, what do you call it? Magneto. Hey, I'm here, Doctor Doom. I feel that you're already trying to manipulate some of the metal in my armor, but my armor is not mostly made out of metal. Just saying. So that little trick of yours, it's not gonna work, brah. It's not gonna work. You can feel his little magnetic fingers trying to, find everything in his armor. He's like, however, that little metal man with the claws there, I imagine that you'd have a lot of control over him, huh? Remember not too long ago when Magneto threw Wolverine, like through his magnetic manipulation, threw Wolverine through one of the Krakoan gates and said, "Tell me what you're seeing here." Blah. And Wolverine just kind of dealt with it. Could you imagine the idea that, I mean, Colossus could at least go organic, whenever he wants. He won't have his full powers, but he's still a tough SOB as a fleshling, as an organic. But when he turns into osmium steel, it's like, hey, stuck. Wolverine, however, he can't get rid of the metal in his bones, and he wouldn't want to really. But he is 100% totally 24/7 an adherent of Magneto whenever he wants to, because how is he going to say no? Think about that. That is messed up. But anyway, and he brings up the idea, like, didn't you rip the metal out of his bones once before? Like that is messed up. That's a dig. That's a dig. Later on, when Uncle Doom, God, I love saying that. When Uncle Doom is working on everything, and he has Beast, he's like, here, look, Beast will look at all this stuff and show you that all this stuff is on the up and up. I'm going to be able to cure your son and make sure that he has his Omega level powers back because he deserves it. It's his birthright. He deserves this stuff. And I really love the idea that you're going to have to deal with the fact that I'm the one who helped out. And this is just like the birth of Valeria. You know what I'm saying? Doom got to name Valeria Richards. Why? Because he's the one who actually made the birth possible when Reed couldn't do it. I'm saying. He just wants another little dig at Reed. Everything is a dig at Reed. You know what I'm saying? Um, Franklin's got something missing in his life and he wants it back. You should know how that feels, Reed. After all, you're missing that tiny sliver. I thought he was going to make a comment on the intelligentsia. No, instead he's like, you're feeling that tiny sliver of something missing every time that you're in my presence when you realize that you're not as intellectually superior as I am. Wow, just kind of burn it. You know what I'm saying? Burn it right into his flesh, man. So like Doom is always trying to give a mushroom tat to Reed. You know what I'm saying? Always just take that. So later on, Mag what's his name? Professor X is talking about, hey man, it's kind of messed up. How come you don't just recognize Latveria? Saying you won't take our drugs. He's like, you make no mistake. I 100% recognize Krakoa as an independent nation. I have no interest in causing any problems or any rift with you guys. I don't want a war with you guys. At the same time, I also don't need your drugs. You know what I'm saying? I've handled things. I got my own stuff going on. So don't worry about us. We're good, you know? Um, but you understand something right here. I don't think that, and here's the other dig at Wolverine. I don't think that just because you have sharp bones that come out of your hands, you know what I'm saying, makes you superior to anybody. You know what I'm saying? I had to work for everything I had, which is funny because as hard as Doom's life was, and it is very hard, make no mistake, genius is not something that you work for. You can't study to become a genius. Genius is a level of is a recognition of someone's IQ. That's their intelligence quotient. It's not how much you know. It's how quickly you're able to understand things. How quickly you're capable of learning. If you can't learn super fast, but you still learn and you study as hard as you can, oh, you're super duper intelligent. But it doesn't mean that you have a high IQ. That's your rate and your ability to learn and comprehend and retain. So yeah, Doom was born with the ability to do that. He was also born with a gypsy mother who happened to leave, when she died. It sucks that his mom had to die. But at the same time, she left behind the spell book. I wasn't left behind any spell book because I'm telling you right now, if I was left behind some kind of a spell book, I'd be all over that magic, brah. You know what I'm saying? But like, I will the greatest internet connection ever. All right, like that's me. That's me. So yeah, he got a whole lot going on. He's got a whole lot happening. What's happening over here? The doom particles. Yeah, I love the idea that he goes and he mentions that. This is Chip Zdarsky writing this book. Now he talks about Dr. Rachna in this. Dr. Rachna, this is something I didn't talk about in the review. Dr. Rachna is the character. Her first appearance was Marvel 2-in-1, Volume 2, Issue number 1. That was the Thing in Human Torch book that Chip Zdarsky was writing when they were like, yeah, dude, you're awesome. But, we're going to give the Fantastic Four book to Dan Slott because, well, basically we're not intelligent enough to understand that Chip Zdarsky would write a better Fantastic Four. And that's no slight on Dan Slott. Dan Slott is a freaking amazing writer. I'm just saying when it comes to Fantastic Four, I'm pretty sure that Chip Zdarsky could do a much better job because it's just in his nature to be able to do something like that. You meet the guy, you talk to the guy, you hear him talking about talking up the Fantastic Four for the past 3 years, 3.5 years. Yeah, dude knows what he's doing. He should be on the Fantastic Four. I'm just saying. Moving on. What happens now? So he brings up the God particles that Dr. Rachna was discussing. Okay. Doom decides, hey, since I actually know more about these, I'm going to label these Pym particles, or not Pym particles. Look at me, Doom particles. He's not going to give Pym the credit for that. Hell's no. I'm going to name them Doom particles. Sounds like something Doom would do. Sounds like something Dr. Doom would do. Wolverine is also vulnerable to Polaris. He's vulnerable to any dude. He's vulnerable to a freaking giant car magnet. You know what I'm saying? He's vulnerable to all that stuff. Mutants didn't ask to be mutants. Hey, come on now. It's not about that. And geniuses don't ask to become geniuses. You know what I'm saying? Um, Here, white people don't ask to be white people. You know what I'm saying? It just happens. You recognize privilege when it comes to you. And if you've got a superpower, you are privileged. If people hate you because you have a superpower, That's something entirely different. You know what I'm saying? But boom. So it's a connotation and understanding of both. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's that. So Doom and Sinister would actually be really wicked, man. That would be absolutely freaking wicked. Yes, Joshua, he did work hard to get the power that he's got, but at the same time, we're talking about Doctor Doom here. Like I said, he had access to magic, and he is a genius. He didn't work hard to get access to the magical book, and he didn't work hard to be a genius. You can't. That defies what those things are. Um, Hard work is one thing, but we still have to recognize the privilege that we all have. So, boom, there's that. Okay, moving on. I'm going to digress from all that stuff now and keep talking about the book. So, um, later on in the book, like that's only halfway through the freaking book. A good chunk of action in here, taking a while for the pages to load, but they're loading. The X-Men decide, hey, listen, man, I don't trust Doom. We got to go in here. Like they're psychic dampeners and whatnot, but we know that there are absolutely mutants in there. So we're gonna go into that city, we're into that town that we were told don't go into. We're gonna go into there and we're gonna look around to see if there are actually mutants. Excuse me. They go in, they find mutants, and the mutants, they're indicating like, oh, we did try to escape, but then we got caught, and then we got in trouble. Some of us were taken away or killed, whatever. We need to, get out of here. Now, maybe they actually are mutants. Maybe they're not. We don't know yet. We don't know yet because the Doom bots that we thought were coming in, as it turns out, these were some of those taken away mutants. Some of those mutants that were taken away, here's one of them. Wolverine just killed that guy. Now, can he be resurrected? Honestly, I don't think so because you could resurrect the body. Here's the DNA, but the brain is gone. Like the brain is dead at this point. Which telepath memorized this person's brain? Took the time to memorize this mutant's brain waves to be able to give a proper clone. It would just be a body. It would just be a cloned body with no mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you going to do with this, right? So that was interesting. And once again, who's the person who did the killing? Wolverine. Somehow, because Doom is that freaking amazing, knew that Wolverine was going to be the one to be like, oh, robots, I can hack and I just look forward to hacking and slashing robots all day. And now I have the opportunity to hack and slash at a friggin' robot. Here I go, here I go. So interesting. Very interesting. Wolverine just killed another mutant. Now, is that a crime? No. And I doubt that Wolverine's going to get in any trouble with this, even with the freaking weirdo Shadow Council of 12. You know what I'm saying? I really doubt he's going to get in any kind of trouble for this. But all that being said, they just committed treason inside there. And now those Doom Sentinels that we saw in the previous issue, they are activated in this issue. So they're going to have to fight Sentinels in the shape of Doctor Doom. Let's see how ridiculously tough these guys are. Yeah, the Fantastic Four were more wrong than the X-Men in this series. At the same time, again, just because the X-Men were actually persecuted for their whole lives, you also got to remember some of them kind of deserved being persecuted. Case in point, all those bad guys that are on there, Apocalypse, Magneto, Mystique, you know what I'm saying? A lot of them deserve that kind of treatment. So is what it is. Giant Size X-Men issue number 1 for Nightcrawler, The Haunted Mansion. Written words and story by Jonathan Hickman, Alan Davis story and art, Carlos Lopez on color art, and VC's Clayton Cowles on letters. The design is Tom Mueller and Alan Davis on with Edgar Delgado doing the cover art, variant cover by Ben Caldwell. Production is again by Nick Russell. Okay. So this was a really cool comic book. One thing I really hated, I'm sure you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but basically, what have you now? Who's this team? iBoy, Magic, Cypher, and Lockheed show up at the X Mansion, and they realize that there's mutants on this side, but we haven't seen these mutants. What's going on? We need to find out where these mutants are, or if there is in fact a mutant. We got to figure out what's going on so that we can try and rescue some peeps, right? And they're not able to do that because they come to find out that no, it's not actually mutants who are on here. Instead, it's what the hell is the name of these? I hate how far it takes to get into there. Jeez. Oh my God, you're killing me. Disardi, I forget what they're called. And it takes so long for the Sidri. There we go. The Sidri. It takes so long for these pages to load. Guys, I hate digital. I hate digital, or at least doing this live with you guys. I like just being able to flip through my comics. It is what it is. So they're the Sidri. These guys showed up a long time ago, and bang. Um, so the Sidri are there, and they're able to take different shapes of different people and whatnot. They've always been able to, form together and form different characters and hide, and they can even form a gigantic one and shoot these killer eye beams that would make Cyclops jealous. No, I'm not exaggerating. What do you call it? And they're like ticks. They're based off the idea of ticks. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that hurts them really is fire, but super duper duper hot fire. These things can survive in space. I'm saying? They're perfectly fine, but fire can kill them. Hot, hot fire. What happens? Anyways, they don't actually want to fight though. They're very territorial and they're bounty hunters, but they're not looking for any mutants. You know what I'm saying? They're just territorial and they're like, listen, we want to stay here. We want you guys to let us stay here. And in payment, we will allow any mutants who come by here to show up, and it's like, bang, there you go. Now, Mastermind's daughter is actually here. She was trying to get through the Krakoan gate inside the X-Mansion, and all of a sudden the Sidri showed up, and she was freaked out because they're super territorial, and she went to this like little cocoon and put illusions around her to distract them, and she's just all sorts of freaked out right now. So they've got a master illusionist with them right now. Awesome. Totally awesome. Can't wait to see what they're going to do with her. In the interim, Cypher is able to figure out all the stuff, and when Magic shows up, she teleports in. She sees that, hey, look, Cypher, I found you. Is that Warlock? And he's like, hi, self-friend. Hi, self-friend Magic. And it's like, oh, wow. It's actually Warlock. Now, we saw this in one of the issues of X-Men. Cyclops showed up and saw Cypher talking to Warlock and Krakoa. And he's like, wait, what did I just say? And after he does a double take, he sees, no, the Warlock's not there. It's just Warlock's arm. Saying the arm wasn't like that before. And there's just a tree. He's just sitting by himself. Totally by himself. Nothing to see here. Move along, people, right? What do you call it? So now we get to see that, yes, in fact, Warlock is he's back. He's truly been here the whole time, but it's secret. He can't let anybody know. Now, this opens up so many discussions where we could possibly go from here on in. Warlock, you can see him right above my finger here. You know what I'm saying? He is essentially, one of these technarchs, saying that they're going to come by with a technocracy and the whole crazy stuff that's going to happen. The Hoxpox, mostly the Dawn of X and Powers of 10, the Powers of 10 books with those Powers of 10 books where they really show the future, the far-fetched future of humankind, 100 years and 1,000 years in the future. Yeah, that. Warlock is basically the link to that potentially. Why do the X-Men keep on losing? Why do the mutants always lose? Maybe this is one of those reasons, because Warlock is actually there. Maybe they're making it so that they'll lose. I don't know, but this is very interesting. So the possibilities are endless. And right now, Magic is the only other character besides Cypher who knows that Warlock is still alive, besides, of course, Krakoa. And Krakoa ain't talking to nobody else. Maybe, however, he's talking to Apocalypse. I want you guys to always remember, when Apocalypse first showed up on the island, he talking in the actual language of Krakoa. Oh, hey, Krakoa, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm pretty good. How you doing? But like having a conversation, like, wait, you can speak the language? It's like, I've been on here for a really long time, so yeah, I can speak to Krakoa. We've had conversations before. We know each other. We go way back. Like, wow, that's messed up. So maybe Apocalypse may know that he's around. Maybe they're working in cahoots with each other. I don't know. But all this potential, whatever, all this this thought for the future. Now, here's the one thing about this with the phalanx. Thank you, Comics Misexplained. Wilfredo. So, hey, Lord Kinboat, what's going on? So here's the weird thing about it. I just mentioned all of these characters were in this book and everything that happened in this book, but I forgot to mention one character on purpose. Hey, wasn't the book called Giant Size X-Men Nightcrawler? So what did Nightcrawler do in this book that I was able to leave him out of the book? Absolutely nothing. I just told you the whole story of what happened in this book, and I didn't mention anything that Nightcrawler did because Nightcrawler didn't really do anything. So here's the question. Why did they use Nightcrawler's name in this? After not having anything to do with Nightcrawler, pretty much, until last issue, not this issue that came out this week for the X-Men, but the previous issue, issue number 8, didn't have anything to do with Nightcrawler until issue 8. Before issue 8, the last we heard of Nightcrawler, he was saying, hey, mutants, let's all have sex with each other. We need orgies. Let's make more mutants. That's the only thing that Nightcrawler has contributed to the Dawn of X books until the previous issue of X-Men, issue number 8, where he's like, hey, maybe I need to make a mutant religion. Which was really weak in my opinion. Oh, by the way, I have already started in my writing. I have already started the script for my own story that I talked about in not last week, but the week before's Dawn of X review. So was it 7? Okay, maybe it was 7. Anyway, when I did the live review for that, I talked about the story that I would love to write. I decided I'm going to write it. And I'll probably put it together with stop motion animation. We'll see. So anyway, yeah, that. So what have you now? Aside from that issue, we haven't seen anything from Nightcrawler, but we finally get something from Nightcrawler, and we're all like, oh, Nightcrawler's going to be doing some stuff. So then they put out Giant Size X-Men Nightcrawler one shot. So of course, everybody is thinking, hey, they're going to do something further with that. Instead, we get this story. Make no mistake, I'm totally 100% cool with this story. This was a cool story. And we got a new mutant showing up on Krakoa. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. But Nightcrawler literally had nothing to do in this story. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Not even a background role. Like Lockheed blasted some fire and then pointed out where the bad guys were. Eyeboy came in and he used his 10 different forms of vision to look around and see that there's some stuff going on. Nightcrawler had less to do than those things. Individually, he had nothing to do with it. Now, if they would have said, hey, let's call this Giant Size X-Men Eyeboy, I'd have been like, okay, fine. Or just the Giant Size X-Men. Let's do a 5-issue run of Giant Size X-Men. Whatever the hell they're going to call it, okay? Call it freaking X-Men Abugula if you want. I honestly don't care. But when you call it Nightcrawler, and literally nobody has a less role in this book than Nightcrawler. Nobody. But you call it Nightcrawler. He's one of the most popular characters. We've been railing, and you can't tell me that Jonathan Hickman didn't know. Jonathan Hickman wrote this book. You can't tell me that Hickman didn't know that this was a big deal for him. For us. It's like they're finally going to do something with Nightcrawler. I'm buying this comic book. So a whole bunch of people bought this comic book, and then were completely disappointed. I'm certain of it, for not having anything to do with Nightcrawler in it. Anything. He might as well have. It's not even the idea that he was replaceable. You didn't even have to replace him. You could have just deleted him from the picture, and nobody would have cared. Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm really bothered by that. And Ramir616, I agree. The Kurt Rachel thing, 100% forced. I talked about it back then when I was reviewing those X-Men Blue issues. Yeah, totally forced. Was that Blue? No, that was X-Men Gold. That felt totally forced. I didn't care for it at all. Anyway, so I just wasn't invested. I didn't care about it, but I just wasn't invested in it at all. I'm like, yeah, whatever, they could date, they could break up. I don't really care. So anyway, I was genuinely disappointed in this. So here's my pledge to you guys. I will make sure that the giant size X-Men books that come out, those will be my very first review that I do, and I will try and get those reviews out at midnight, or Wednesday morning, aka Tuesday night. I will try to get those out as soon as possible so that you can actually make an informed decision if you should actually consider reading the book or not. All right? Because that is fussed. That is genuinely fussed. All right? Actually, it's whenever the book comes out. Comixology doesn't put the book out until 3. Whenever I'm able, as soon as I'm able to get my hands on my comic books, I will make sure that I'm putting that review out as early as possible so you guys can make an informed decision should I actually get this book. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys, that's not who I am. I'm not kissing anybody's butt. I'm not kissing your guys' butts. I'm not kissing the writers or the artists or the editors' butts, Marvel's butts, Disney's butts. I am not a kisser of butts. That's just not the way that my lips work. All right, not happening. Not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. So, well, George Bush humor there, senior. So, yeah, no, I have no problem telling you guys this is a marketing ploy, just like what was said on here. This is false information. This is a false flag, um, uh, whatever, false flag operation. There we go. This book is a lie. I have no problem pointing that out. And I genuinely, genuinely in my heart hope that this will serve as a way to bring down the amount of revenue that Marvel, aka Disney, is able to make off of those giant size X-Men books. Because if you're going to lie to us, you deserve to have a poor selling book. You deserve to have like one copy. You know what I'm saying? One copy sold. Imagine if we could do that. Excuse me. It'll never happen. But imagine if we could do that. If everybody knew Professor Bill is going to buy the book, he's going to review the book, and he's going to tell us how good or bad the book is and if it's a flat out freaking lie. Imagine if they sold literally one book. If they could look on their, their roster and say, "Holy crap, we sold one." That has to be a typo, right? Not even the double digits. One lousy book. Yeah, wow. Imagine that. And then find that video and be like, "This guy's outing us." I will give you guys 100% spoilers of the book, man. That's just it. Because that pisses me off. Genuinely pisses me off when they sit there and they lie like that, man. A character that we've all been looking forward to, and you psyched us out and said this was going to be the character. And this is the second time they did it to us. Hey, man, I enjoyed this book. It was a good book. Brought me down that it said this was a Nightcrawler book, and it clearly was not. Same thing with the Jean Grey, Emma Frost giant size X-Men book. I love those two characters. I expected that was going to be a book where they were actually going to be talking to each other about their relationship with Cyclops and possibly Wolverine. Just saying, just have some kind of a freaking conversation, work something out, maybe get into a slap fest with each other, psychically. And just, I would have loved to have seen anything with just these two characters getting on with each other and whatnot. Instead, it's a book about Storm getting the techno-organic or some kind of a freaking technical organic virus, which, yeah, no, that's not what this book promised to be about. That's not cool at all. So yeah, very disappointed. Anyway, let's see what we got up in here. Oh man, see that? Puns. He just wound up getting screwed over because of that. See? Nightcrawler is my favorite X-Men. I bought the regular and the variant cover. Yeah, that's just messed up, dude. That is totally messed up. They screwed you over. And literally, Nightcrawler, completely replaceable. Didn't even have to be in the book at all. Nobody had to be in that book extra. Heard DC is going to release digital sales still. Yes, that's also what I heard. Are we getting reviews for any of that stuff, Professor? Love them reviews. Yes, I will still be reviewing the regular DC books that I do. I stopped, reviewing Wonder Woman. Comic Boom still does Wonder Woman reviews, so go and check him out. He still does Wonder Woman reviews. It's one of his favorite characters. I'm positive he does the reviews better than me anyway. He knows all the characters a whole lot better than I do. I just love the characters, and I know most of the characters, but every so often they'll bring up a new character that appeared in the New 52, and I still haven't gotten around to reading the New 52. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, every so often that happens. I'm like, I have no idea who this person is. Look, I think it's a new character, and they don't have any information up on the character. Whatever, man. So, yeah, is what it is. Let's see. Hellions was great. Viclops. The one shot John Wright says of Kurt Wagner should have gone much more into his past with immunity. Right? Anything would have been good. It should have been about Kurt though. Derek says it could have been called Giant Size X-Men Magic or iBoy or Cypher. Yeah, or X Mansion. You know what I'm saying? Could have been called Giant Size anything. Storm Giant Size would be a team book for sure. I'm sure it will. I'm sure all of them will. I kind of disagree with these companies releasing digital only. What a big middle finger for LCS that are going to struggle. Uh, I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know. Here's the thing. I think that DC is still going to release the books. Here's the thing. I want you to think about this, okay? They've already paid for an art germ cover for issue number 92 of Batman. The art germ cover of what's her name? Um, Punching Bag, whatever the hell her name is, the new replacement for Harley Quinn for the Joker, right? So they've already made it. They've already paid for it. They're definitely going to release that. Even if it's super late, it's cool. They're still going to wind up releasing that. On top of that, what do you call it? Issue number 94 is promising some interesting stuff. They're actually promising the first appearance of a new character. So the Clown Hunter, it's going to be called. So there's a character who it seems to me is going to be going after Joker. Okay, interesting. With that being the case, do we really think that they're not going to put out that single issue, which is definitely going to sell? And people already pre-ordered it like crazy? It's definitely going to sell. They want that physical copy because they know that collectors aren't interested in digital. There are comic book channels out there that are so concerned with the floppies. They don't care about trade paperbacks. They don't care about digital comic books. They don't care about story. They don't care about anything. They only talk about, well, this issue has a first appearance of somebody, and it's actually a really important comic book, and the value of this comic book is actually such and such and such. You find this book all over the place for these great prices. Yeah, I agree. This is a really important book, and variant covers. They're not killing the comic book industry. By the way, buy our variant covers because yeah, those guys. Is what it is, man. It is what it is. But DC understands, they recognize that if they go purely digital, there's no way that their company is going to be able to stay in business. Warner Brothers will shut them down in a heartbeat. Rather, there's Marvel is looking into, from my understanding, Marvel's going to make an announcement of what they're going to do, but they are currently looking into finding other ways to ship. All right, somebody on my Facebook group, right, the Comic Book University Facebook group, talked about how, hey, man, Time Magazine is put out like weekly, so why don't they just, find out, who's distributing Time Magazine, and then, have them distribute the comic books. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Maybe they can start doing it back to grocery stores again. I understand the comic book retailers, they're going to have some problems right now. And honestly, with Diamond being shut down, what are they going to do? What can they honestly do about that? And these other retailers, how are they going to get their hands on these comic books if Diamond's not going to specifically ship directly to them? But Marvel is definitely trying to find new ways to get comic books out in the hands of people, even if they were to put them in, and this is just coming from me, even if they were to put them back in grocery stores, people would flock to the grocery stores to get those comic books. And worst case scenario, what a punchline. Thank you, Corey. You're awesome. And welcome back, by the way. What say you if they were able to find retail, or what do you call it, distributors who would be willing to? It's like, okay, here, everybody's coming for, we're going to send our trucks out to Walmart and, the Walmart distribution center and all these different distribution centers, but the comic books we're going to leave right here. Hey, retailers, can you come and get the comic books? Yes, because they'll be here on this day. So if you can promise to get the comic books here on this day, you come in and you pick them up on this day. If you miss it, they're going to get sent back to us, and we're going to get pissed because we have to absorb those prices. You know what I'm saying? The return and all that stuff. We're going to have to absorb that. So we're not going to send you any more comics. You got to make sure you pick up these books at the airport or whatever the distribution center is. You know what I'm saying? But they will not come directly to you. That could work. Why? Because that's technically the way it already works in Canada. In Canada, nobody ships the comic books directly to us. We have to go and pick up the comic books at, what do you call it? Like a garage, a hangar next to the major airports and whatnot. That's how they come in. That's how we're going to get our hands on these comic books. So, hey, there's that. Yeah. Joshua Hudson, hey, welcome to the stream. It was a pleasure. Have a good evening. You have a good evening too. Pawns, they could have done some cool thing with connecting Nightcrawler and magic. Agreed. Both teleporters have ties to the demonic evil realm. Yes. And also, there's a third teleporter there, the gates. You know what I'm saying? The Krakoan gates. 3 teleporters on there. They could have called it Giant Size X-Men the teleporters. But no, they didn't even bother. And hey, didn't we already show that, oh, for crying out loud, from Age of X-Man? What the heck is her name? God, see, I'm drawing a blank because I'm just trying to whatever, and plus I'm thinking about going out and eating some food and hanging out with the wife and watching some more Boy Meets World. Hey, I like Boy Meets World. Deal with it. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, to clarify, just during this COVID shutdown, they should just put everything on halt. For the most part, I agree. They really should, because the more stuff that keeps coming out, yeah, it's messed up. Look, it's really messed up. It's genuinely messed up. You know what I'm saying? And we could have a hard shutdown on the economy for a month to make sure that everything is stopped. You know what I'm saying? And we can actually end this. And literally every single country has to have their borders closed in order to do that. Blink. Yes, thank you, Jericho. And then all of a sudden we're done, right? Or they could keep on doing this where they're trying to rush to open everything up, and people are just going to keep on getting sick and die and be sick for the rest of their lives because they've got, respiratory illnesses and whatnot. It's a really messed up situation, and it's like they're trying to put a Band-Aid on a freaking head wound, and that's just not going to work. That's simply not the way this is going to work, So, yeah, right. I used to do that in the Army. My one buddy, not going to say his name, but my battle buddy, yeah, we used to be across the room from each other in a class, saying actually in basic and in AIT, we were in both together. I look over and make sure we're okay. We like turn back, so that's, yeah. So anyway, yeah, and that's it. I'm at the bottom of the comments. I'm finished with all the books that I've read and reviewed and whatnot. I'm closing all those freaking things out because you got to be kidding me. Hey, I'm going to try and do the yes, we call them battle buddies. What do you call it? I'm going to try and do my Detective Comics review and my Amazing Spider-Man review, just because they were both really good books. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try and put those out tomorrow, and then yeah, that's it. And if you guys do want some more content, you want to sit down, fall asleep listening to something totally awesome, listen to me and Chillmonger for an hour talking about comic books and the latest comic book news in my podcast, which you can actually find. I'm going to give you guys a link right now, and I highly recommend checking this one out. Why? Because Chillmonger tries to convince me to pirate comic books. Yes, you heard me right. Chillmonger actually decides to try and convince me, and for a reason, I'm not going to say it's a good reason, but he actually tries to give me a reason for pirating comic books, which I was not expecting, but some of it kind of sort of just a little bit makes sense. I'm just going to put that out there. Do you think Magneto set up a kill towards Kate Pryde? Nah, I don't think he did that. I think that was totally Sebastian Shaw. What about that Gotham High? I don't have a problem with Gotham High. I have zero problem with Gotham High because it sounds like something my kids would possibly get into. And if they're going to find a way to get into it, hey, man, I'm not into those little chibi. Oh, yes, guys, like the video, just like Michael Louisel said. But I'm not into the chibi superheroes running around. I really just don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? The Lego superheroes are super silly, but my kids love them. I just beat the game today in front of them, and they're just like, Dad, you're the greatest. I'm like, I am the greatest. I really am the greatest. And I just, like it's fun. It's cute playing those, but I don't care about the story too much. It is what it's just silly, you know what I'm saying? Galactus shaking up a freaking shield helicarrier. It's silly, but my kids loved it. It's not for me. It's for them. And when they get old, and then they ask me questions and, hey, are you interested? Yes, Dad. Yeah, guys, this stuff is amazing. Galactus is an amazing character. He actually eats planets. And my oldest son's like, wait, what? And like there's the interest, saying one thing leads into something else. Gotham Central or Gotham, what do you call it? Gotham High isn't for me. It's not for you. It's not for anybody, I would imagine, who's looking at this channel right now. It's probably for the kids. You know what I'm saying? So if it gets young minds into comic books and all of a sudden they're interested and they start keeping the hobby alive, the more kids that are into comic books, the more kids buying comic books, the more comic books there will be for all of us old fuddy-duddies who are like, don't get rid of my comic books because it's totally awesome that way. I'm saying. So what do I think of Gotham High? I think it's one of the best damn things they could have possibly done. And all the naysayers are like, these guys are not even boomers and they're talking about get off my lawn. I'm just saying it's not even in maturity at this point. It's literally they have no brains. They are brainless. They are clueless. All these Comic Gate channels out there complaining about it. Oh, what is this stupid stuff? This is the stuff that's going to keep the comic book industry alive. Because if it gets kids into comic books, it keeps the comic books going, and there will be comic books forever. So more Gotham High, please. Can we do Metropolis High also? How about Themyscira High? Why not? Let's just do all of these things because you know what? I want my kids to be into comic books so these things stay in existence for a while longer. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And that's it for me, guys. I'm out. So talk to you all later. Love, peace, and hair grease. Take it easy. Stay indoors. Hey, listen, change your mindset. There's a lot of people who are crying not crying. They're actually complaining, and for good reason. I'm stuck indoors. Change one word. Change one stupid word in there. Change stuck into safe. And all of a sudden, it's not that bad because you just changed your thinking. You changed your mindset. I'm safe indoors. I'm not stuck indoors. I'm safe indoors. You know what I'm saying? And heck, have a little fun with your family. When you turn around and say, you think that I'm stuck in here with all of you? No, you're stuck in here with me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.